Very, very good morning to all of you, my friends. Welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. So let's get back. Now, in the previous two sessions, we have started with standard costing, wherein we discussed in detail the concept of material variance and labor variance. So I think today is the last session of standard costing. So I'll be covering fixed and variable overhead variance that is left out. And apart from this, I'll be discussing few questions of study material. I'll be addressing all your queries, guys. So without wasting time, let's start with fixed and variable overhead variances. I'll be discussing few questions on labor variances also, but let me cover the conceptual part first. Then we'll discuss with few questions of study material. So let's start, guys. Now, guys, whenever you guys see a question on fixed or variable overhead variance, try to arrange the question in this format, that is budget and actual. Try to prepare the question in this format, that is budget and actual. Now let's say the information is given as regards days. The budgeted days are 25 and the actual days are 26. Further, the information is given in the question as regards hours also. Let's say 30,000 hours and 33,000 hours. Further, the units manufactured are also given. That is 30,000 units in case of budget and 32,500 was the actual production. And further, fixed overheads are also given. Further fixed overheads are also given, let's say 45,000 and 50,000. Now, more or less, every question will be in this format only. However, if in few cases, it is given in the form of statement or it's a word problem, then try to convert every question into this format. So now let's start. So the first and foremost thing what we do calculate in fixed overhead is, again the same thing, fixed overhead cost variance. We do calculate fixed overhead cost variance. When talking about fixed overhead cost variance, it talks about the under or over absorption of overhead that I've already covered in fixed overhead chapter. So how to calculate the under or over absorption of overhead? It's very simple. 45,000 overheads for 30,000 units. So what will be my absorption rate? 1.5 per unit. I repeat again, 45,000 overheads for 30,000 units. So 45,000 divided by 30,000, it's 1.5. So my absorption rate is what? Predetermined rate is what? 1.5. Now the actual production is 32,500. So how much will be my absorbed overheads? $48,750. These are my absorbed overheads. And my actual overheads were how much? 50,000. So my absorbed overheads are 48,750 and my actual overheads are 50,000. So 1250 adverse is my under absorption of overhead. This is all what about fixed overhead cost variance. So I repeat again, guys, when talking about fixed overhead cost variance, it talks about under or over absorption of overhead. So 45,000 overheads for 30,000 units. For 32,500 units, how much? 48,750. This is my overheads as per predetermined rate, or we call it as absorbed overheads. Now, when talking about actual overheads, my actual overheads are 50,000. So 1250 minus, we call it as adverse. This is under absorption of overheads. Now, the second part is fixed overheads expenditure variance. Fixed overhead expenditure variance. Yes, in cost variance, I'll say yes, Darshan. Very good morning, Arunima. Very good morning, Farah. Very good morning, Bhumika, Sushil, Ms. Singh, Rajiv Kumar, Diksha, Ishan, Mr. Mohammad Nasri. Very good morning, everyone. So, when talking about fixed overhead expenditure variance, again, since fixed overhead remain constant at all the level of production, so expenditure variance is very simple. That is, my budgeted fixed overheads were 45,000 and my actual fixed overheads are 50,000. So, this will be 5,000 adverse. I repeat again, when talking about expenditure variance, very good morning, Akshay. When talking about expenditure variance, since fixed overhead remain constant at all the level of production, so expenditure variance is very easy to calculate. That is 45,000 is my budgeted fixed overhead and 50,000 is my actual fixed overhead. So 45,000 minus 50,000, 5,000 adverse will be my fixed overhead expenditure variance. Now, next is fixed overhead volume variance. Now, the name itself says due to change in volume. Volume means what? What? Units. Volume means what? Units. So, when talking about volume variance, the name itself says volume, that is units. So, here we were expecting that we will manufacture 30,000 units. As per the target set by the management, we were expecting that we will manufacture 30,000 units. However, when the actual figures were out, my actual production was 32,500 units. My actual production was 32,500 units. That is 2,500, much more than what I expected. That is 2,500 units, much more than what I expected. Now, herein, we have to present all the variances in monetary way. So herein we'll be applying the standard rate. Again, since it is units, so we'll be applying the budgeted rate per unit. So herein, when talking about the budgeted rate per unit, 45,000 are my fixed overhead divided by 30,000. So it will be 1.5 per unit. Let me get my red marker. 1 second. Now, how come this? How come this rate 1.5 per unit? Now, since it is 2,500 units, so we will be using the rate per unit. Now, how come this 1.5 per unit? Very simple, guys. 45,000 are the overhead divided by 30,000 units. Okay, Arunima. So let's take a quick recap of what we have discussed till now. So we have started with fixed overhead variances, wherein when talking about cost variance, it talks about the under or over absorption of overheads. So here, how we calculate the under or over absorption using units? Very simple. 45,000 overheads for 30,000 units. It means 1.5 per unit is what? My absorption rate or predetermined rate. So 1.5 per unit is my predetermined rate into the actual production was 32,500 unit. It means 48,750 are my absorbed overhead. And the actual overheads are 50,000. So 1,250 is my under absorption of overhead. When talking about expenditure variance, again, since the fixed overhead remain constant at all the level of production, so we can directly calculate fixed overhead expenditure variance, that is 45,000 minus 50,000, that is 5,000 adverse. When talking about the volume variance, it talks about units, that is the variance due to change in units. So here, the management is targeted in advance that will be manufacturing 30,000 units. However, we actually manufactured 32,500 units. That is 2,500 units extra we manufactured. So this variance will be favorable. Very important. Since the number of units are more, since the targeted production was 30,000 units only. However, when the actual figures were out, the actual production was 32,500 units. That is 2,500 units extra. So that's why this variance will be favorable. This will be 3,750. So 3,750 favorable, 5,000 adverse. This will be 1,250 adverse. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. Yes, Darshan, Bhumika, Arunima, Diksha, any doubts? Sushil, Ishan, any doubts? Again, I repeat, volume variance, the name itself says variance due to change in units. Variance due to change in units. So the management has targeted that we'll be manufacturing 30,000 units. However, when the actual figures were out, the actual production was 32,500 units. That is 2,500 units extra. Since we have to express all the variances in monetary terms, so we'll be using the rate per unit. So it will be 1.5 per unit. So 2,500 into 1.5 per unit, 3,750 favorable. Why favorable? Because the targeted production was 32,000, but we actually manufactured 32,500 units. That is 2,500 units extra we manufacture. So it's a good sign for the company. That's why it will be favorable. Sushil, that is already discussed in detail in overheads chapter. Good morning, Rushita. Good morning, Nehal. Very good. Good morning, Kiran. So now, let's start with the remaining variances, wherein the first variance we'll be calculating here is calendar variance. When talking about calendar variance, the name itself, the name says calendar, that is, it talks about days. So variance due to change in days. Now, guys, yes, from here onwards, the budgeted rate per unit. Now, when talking about calendar variance, guys, do listen carefully. Most of the students find it difficulty that whether the variance is adverse or favorable. So here, when talking about calendar variance, the management has targeted that you are supposed to present for 25 days in office. Again, the management has targeted that you should be present for 25 days in office. Again, I repeat, the management has targeted that my worker should work for 25 days in a month. However, when the actual figures were out, the results were superb, wherein my workers were present for 26 days in office. Again, forget about the efficiency part. I'm talking about the days part, that the company advised you to report for 25 days in a month. However, my worker did a great job and they were present for 26 days in a month. That is 1 day extra they were present. So it's a favorable sign for the company. Again, I repeat, forget about the efficiency part. I'll be covering this part separately. But when talking about the days, the company advised their workers to work for 25 days in a month, but the workers did a great job and they were present for 26 days in a month. That is 1 day extra they were present. So this variance will be favorable for the company. Now, since we have calculated the day, so we'll be using the rate per day. Again, the rate per day will be how much? 45. The budgeted rate per day will be how much? 45,000 divided by 25. This will be 1800. So the variance will be 1800 favorable. Again, how come 1800? Will be using budgeted rate only because the difference between the budgeted rate, budgeted overheads and actual overheads is already considered in expenditure variance. So the difference of 5,000 is already covered separately in expenditure variance. So from here onward, we'll be taking the budgeted rate. Now, how come 1800 per day? Again, I'm writing the explanation for your reference. 45,000 are my overheads divided by 25 days. Again, guys, since we have calculated the number of days, so we'll be using the rate per day. Again, guys, I repeat, forget about the efficiency. Just think from days perspective that the company advised their worker to report in office for 25 days. However, they work for 26 days in a month. That is 1 day extra they work. So that is favorable for the company. Now the next is capacity variance. Now when talking about capacity variance, it talks about hours. One second, guys. Now, when talking about capacity variance, it talks about hours. So herein, When talking about hours, it is 30,000 and 33,000. That is, there is a deviation of 3,000 hours. However, again, these 30,000 hours were for in 25 days. We were supposed to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days, but we actually worked for 26 days. So the difference of 30,000 and 33,000 is not correct. The better explanation will be, I'm writing this for your reference, wherein we have the capacity to work for how many hours? 30,000 hours in 25 days. 30,000 hours in 25 days. Therefore, in 26 days, our capacity will be we have the capacity to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days. So the actual days were 26. So we have the capacity to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days. Therefore, in 26 days, our capacity will be how much? 31,200 hours. That is, how come 31,200? 30,000 hours in 25 days. So in 26 days, we have the capacity to work for 31,200 hours. But in these 26 days, we work for 33,000 hours. However, we have the capacity to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days. Therefore, in 26 days, our capacity will be 31,200. However, we worked for how many hours? We worked for 33,000 hours in 26 days. That is 1,800 hours above our capacity. That is 1,800 hours above my capacity. Therefore, it will be favorable. So 1,800 hours into, again, we'll be using the rate per hour. So this will be 1.5 per hour, that is 45,000 divided by 30,000. So this will be 2,700 favorable. I have written the explanation for your reference. Bhumika, very important. This will not be adverse. Again, forget about the efficiency. Just think from our perspective that we have the capacity to work for 31,200 hours in 26 days. But in these 26 days, we work for 33,000 hours. That is 1,800 hours extra we worked in these 26 days. That is, we worked above our capacity. So that's why it is favorable. So 1,800 into 1.5 per hour. Again, how come 1.5 per hour? Very simple, guys. 45,000 divided by 30,000 hours. I repeat again, guys, this variance, it's a bit on the trickier side. Very important. Most of the students find difficulty in capacity variance. So guys, that's why I've written the explanation. No need to write all this in exams. This is for your understanding. I'm writing because again, काफी students को ये problem आता है कि अरे sir ने क्या बोला था, क्यों adverse है, क्यों favorable है. So writing this for your reference again. We have the capacity to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days. 30,000 hours in 25 days. Therefore, in 26 days, our capacity will be 31,200 hours. How come 31,200 hours? 30,000 hours in 25 days. So in 26 days, it will be 31,200. However, we worked for 33,000 hours in these 26 days. That is 1,800 hours above my capacity. Therefore, we call it as favorable. If you guys have any doubts in capacity variance, you guys can please post your query. Again, very important, a bit on the trickier side. So guys, do try to memorize the concept. Again, if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. Mr. Mohammed, any doubts? Rushita, Nehal, Bhumika, Arunima, Komal, any doubts? Ishan? Kiran Shukla, any doubts? Waiting for your queries, guys. Now the last part is fixed overhead. Efficiency variance. Now, efficiency variance is a bit easy to calculate. Again, don't try to memorize the formulas, apply the concept. Wherein efficiency, that is how efficiently we work. So here 30,000 units should be manufactured in 30,000 hours. It means what? 1 unit should be manufactured in 1 hour. One unit should take not more than 1 hour. So my actual production was 32,500 units. So this should be completed in 32,500 hours. I repeat again, 30,000 units, 30,000 hours. It means 32,500 units, 32,500 hours. But we actually took to manufacture these 32,500 units. We actually took how many hours? 33,000 hours. Again, 1 unit should not take 1 unit should not take more than 1 hour. It means my 32,500 units should be manufactured in 32,500 hours. But yes, we actually took 33,000 hours. That is how much hours we worked extra. How much it was our inefficiency? Very simple, guys. 500 hours was my inefficiency. The work was supposed to be completed. वो काम जो 32,500 hours में complete हो जाना चाहिए था, वो काम complete करने में हमने 30,000 hours लगा, sorry, 33,000 hours लगा दिए. That is 500 hours was our inefficiency. Again, it is hours, so we'll be applying the rate per hour. That is 45,000 divided by 30,000 hours. So this will be 1.5 per hour. This will be 750 inwards. I repeat again, guys. I repeat again, guys, 30,000 units should be manufactured in 30,000 hours. 30,000 units should be manufactured in 30,000 hours. It means it was the target set by the management that one unit should take max to max 1 hour. So my actual production was 30 to 500 units. So 30 to 500 units should be manufactured in how much hours? 30 to 500 hours. But to manufacture these 30 to 500 units, we actually took 33,000 hours. That is 500 hours was my inefficiency. That's why we call it as adverse. Okay, now capacity variance, Krishna. सर कैपेसिटी अबाव होगी तो फेवरेबल होगी और कैपेसिटी लो होगी तो एडवर्स होगी, ठीक है ना सर? सो कृष्णा माय डियर, लिसन टू द स्टेटमेंट केयरफुली कि हमारी कैपेसिटी जो है वो 31,200 आवर्स की थी. अगेन वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट एफिशिएंसी कि हमने प्रोडक्टिवली काम किया या अनप्रोडक्टिवली काम किया. व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट कैपेसिटी कृष्णा, हमारी कैपेसिटी थी 31,200 आवर्स काम करने की, बट हम लोगों ने 33,000 आवर्स काम किया. That is 1,800 hours we worked above our capacity. That's why it is favorable. Tanishka, it is adverse. What is A? 75, 750. A is adverse. 750 adverse. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Sir, please read again whatever the concept written by you or under capacity variance. So Sushil, do listen to this carefully. We have the capacity to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days. We have the capacity to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days. But we actually work for 26 days. That is, therefore, in 26 days, our capacity will be 31,200 hours. How come 31,200? 30,000 hours for 25 days. So for 26 days, how much will be our capacity? 31,200 hours. However, we work for 33,000 hours in these 26 days. That is 1,800 hours we worked above our capacity. That's why this variance is favorable. Again, the rate is 1.5. Again, we have got 500 hours in efficiency variance. That is 500 hours was our inefficiency. Again, we have to explain these variances or put up these variances in monetary form. So this is R. So multiplied by 1.5 per hour, that is my budgeted rate per hour. How come 1.5? That is 45,000 rupees for 30,000 hours. So per hour rate will be how much? 1.5. Edwin sir, are you there? The board is visible. The letters are visible clearly. Now it is visible. So it's the problem in the software, I think, right? Okay, fine, sir. There are various departments that are associated with this variance, Darshan. So when talking about this part, it is 45,000 fixed overhead for 30,000 hours. So for per hour, it will be 1.5 per hour. This is how I got this rate 1.5 per hour. Ashwini Ben Patel, hopefully your query is resolved. Yes, everyone. Anyone having any doubts? Rushita, Bhumika, Sushil, Varsha, Ashwini, any doubts? So I repeat again what I have discussed till now. So when talking about fixed overhead cost variance, guys, stop copying. I'll be giving you time to copy. Right now, please focus on what I'm discussing. So when talking about fixed overhead cost variances, so herein it talks about under or over absorption of overhead. So 45,000 overheads for 30,000 units. So for 32,500 units, how much should be my overhead? 48,750. This is my absorbed overheads. Now my actual overheads are 50,000. So that's why 1250 extra. That's why we call it as adverse. Now talking about expenditure variance, again, 45,000 are my fixed overhead, budgeted fixed overhead, 50,000 are my actual fixed overhead. So this will be 5,000 adverse. When talking about volume variance, it talks about units. That is, we were supposed to manufacture 30,000 units. However, we actually manufactured 32,500 units. That is 2,500 units extra we manufactured. 2,500 units extra we manufacture. So it's a good sign for the company. Again, we have to express all the variances in monetary terms. So we'll be applying the rate per unit because we have calculated the number of units. So number of units calculate किए हैं तो हम लोग per unit rate apply करेंगे. So 45,000 divided by 30,000 units. So we'll be getting the rate per unit, that is 1.5 per unit. When talking about calendar variance, it talks about days. Calendar variance talks about days. So herein, we were supposed to be work for 25 days in a month, but we actually worked for 26 days in a month. That is 1 day extra we worked. So this is a good sign for the company. So that's why this variance is favorable. When talking about the capacity part, very important, guys. We have the capacity to work for 31,200 hours in these 26 days. How come 31,200 hours? 30,000 hours in 25 days. So in 26 days, my capacity was to work for 31,200 hours. But in these 26 days, I worked for 33,000 hours. That is 1,800 hours I worked above my capacity. That's why this variance will be favorable. So again, we have calculated hours. So we'll be applying the rate per hour. So per hour rate will be how much? 45,000 divided by 30,000 hours. So this will be 1.5 per hour. So 2,700 favorable. Now, the last part is efficiency. So it talks about that we work productively or not. So 1 unit, 30,000 units, 30,000 hours. It means 32,500 units should be manufactured in 32,500 hours. But to manufacture these 32,500 units, we actually took 33,000 hours. That is 500 hours extra we consume. So that's why 500 hours into the rate 1.5 per hour, 750 is adverse. Again, guys, don't get confused that when it will be adverse, when it will be favorable. The major point of discussion in this variances is that when the variance will be adverse, when the variance will be favorable. So when talking about units, अगर हमने ज्यादा units बनाए तो favorable. When talking about days, if we have worked for more days, favorable. When talking about hours, we have worked above our capacity, that is more hours we worked, it will be favorable. But yes, efficiency, we will check the productivity. So now giving you 3 to 4 minutes time to please to copy. I request you guys to please copy the explanation in detail. Thank you. Further, do write your comments that what you have understood. Do write the comments in your notebook, what you have understood, and write the concepts accordingly, giving you 4 to 5 minutes time. Take your time, write down the concept in your notebook. बार बार आप लेक्चर नहीं सुन सकते. See, when I am teaching, जब मैं पढ़ा रहा हूं आपको सब समझ में आएगा. But the point is, are you able to memorize it or not? So the best way to memorize the concept is that write your explanation in the notebook, that आपको क्या समझ में आया, what exactly you have, I mean, आप लोगों को क्या समझ में आया. So write down it in notebook, giving you 5 minutes time. Again, this part is bit on the trickier side. So please, thank you so much. Just giving you 5 minutes time. I hope everyone is thorough with the concept. Okay, Dikshita. So again, we are talking about when talking about the calendar variance, again, the company advised our workers to work for 25 days, but they work for 26 days. That is 1 day extra we worked. So that's why it is favorable. Again, forget about the efficiency or productivity. That is covered separately in efficiency variance. Now let's take one more situation wherein idle hours are also given. Let's say 200 hours. Idle time or idle hours are also given, let's say 200 hours. Now, solution में क्या change होगा? What will be the change in solution? So again, when talking about fixed overhead cost variance, there will be no change. Again, I'm writing the explanation. Fixed overhead cost variance, no change. That is same. 45,000 for 30,000 units. So for 32,500 units, how much? 48,750. How much was my actual overheads? 50,000. So this will be 1250 Edwards. Again, two parts. Expenditure variance, again, no change. Again, no change. Even though if idle hours are given, there will be no change in expenditure variance. It will be same. 45,000 minus 50,000. So this will be 5,000 Edwards. When talking about again fixed overhead volume variance also, no change. That is, we were supposed to manufacture 30,000 units. We actually manufactured 32,500 units. 500 units, 2,500 units extra we manufactured into the rate per unit. So this will be 3,750 favorable. Now herein, when talking about the calendar variance also, there will be no change in calendar variance. So fixed overhead, no change. That is 25 to 26 days, 1 day extra we work into the rate per day, that is 1,800. The rate per day. So this will be 1,800 favorable. When talking about capacity variance, again, there will be no change. We have the work capacity to work for 30,000 hours in 25 days. So in 26 days, how much will be our capacity? 31,200 hours. And we worked for 33,000 hours. That is 1,800 hours extra we work, that is above my capacity, into the rate per hour, that is 1.5 per hour. So this will be 2,700 favorable. Now herein, cost variance, no change. Expenditure variance, no change. Volume variance, no change. Calendar variance, no change. Capacity variance also no change. Now herein, there will be a new variance, idle time variance. 200 hours into the rate per hour is 45,000 divided by 30,000, that is 1.5 per hour. So this will be 300 adverse. Since it's a loss to the company, so idle time variance will always be adverse. Now again, there will be a change in efficiency variance. Very important, guys. Very important, guys. 30,000 units, 30,000 hours. 1 unit, 1 hour. So 32,500 units we actually manufactured. So the work was supposed to be completed in how many hours? 32,500 hours. So the work was supposed to be completed in 32,500 hours. But we actually took how much hours? 33,000 hours. That is 500 hours extra we took. Of this 500 hours, That is, there was an inefficiency of 500 hours. Of this 500 hours, 200 is my idle time. 200 hours inefficiency is how much? Of this, 200 hours are my idle time. So the net inefficiency will be how much? Only 300 hours into the rate per hour, that is 1.5. So this will be 750 adverse. So in simple terms, there was an inefficiency of 500 hours. That is 500 hours were my unproductive hours. Of this 500 hours, 200 hours is my idle time and 300 hours is my inefficiency. So वो जो 500 hours है वो हम लोगों ने पहले inefficiency में consider किया था. Herein we have made the breakup, that is, of the differences of 500 hours. Of this 200 hours will be my idle time and 300 hours will be my inefficiency. So that is what the major difference is. If you guys have any doubts in idle time variance, you guys can please post your query. Further, I request you guys to please write the explanation. So herein there is a difference of 500 hours. Of this 500 hours, 200 is my idle time and 300 is my inefficiency. So giving you 2 minutes time to please copy the explanation. Sorry guys, this will be 450. Sorry Rishita, sorry Dikshita. So there was a difference of 500 hours. Of this 500 hours, 200 hours are my idle time. These 200 hours my idle time and 300 hours will show as inefficiency. Yes, I have already rectified. Yes, anyone having any doubts? Darshan, Arunima, Bhumika, Sushil, Rushita, any doubts? Nehal Patel, Khushi Gupta, Krishna. Arunima Sinha, again, when talking about efficiency, very simple. The work was supposed to be completed in 30 to 500 hours. However, we actually took 33,000 hours. So 500 hours is the difference. Of this 500 hours, 200 hours was my idle time and the balance 300 hours will be my inefficiency. Amit Kumar Das, 200 hours idle hours are given in the question. Now, guys, let's proceed further. Now, here, what if in case the days are not given in the question? What if in case if no information is given as regards days? So what will be the change in the solution? What if in case the days are not given in the question, no information is given in the question as regards days. So the question is hours 30,000 and 33,000, units 30,000 and 32,500, and fixed overhead that is 45,000 and 50,000. So now what will be the change in the solution? So herein there will be no change in fixed overhead cost variance. It will be same. That is 45,000 for 30,000 units. So for 32,500 units, how much and how much are my actual overheads? So cost variance, no change. Expenditure variance also no change. Volume variance also no change. Now, since no information is given as regards days, so we will not calculate calendar variance. I repeat again, since no information is given in the question as regards days, so we will not be calculating calendar variance. Now, when talking about capacity variance also, since no information is given in the question as regards days, so we will assume that the days are same, that is budgeted days and actual days are same. So herein, we can directly calculate capacity variance. That is, we have the capacity to work for how many hours? 30,000 hours. We actually work for how many hours? 33,000 hours. So how many hours we worked extra? 3,000 hours we worked extra. Into the rate per hour, that is 45,000 divided by 30,000, that is 1.5 per hour. So this will be 4,500 favorable. Again, when talking about efficiency, variance, again no change. 30,000 units, 30,000 hours. Therefore, 32,500 units, how many hours? 32,500 hours. We actually took how many hours? 33,000 hours. So 500 hours is my so 500 hours is my inefficiency into the rate per hour, that is 1.5 per hour. So this will be 750 adverse. So I repeat again, if no information is given in the question as regards date, then you have to present the solution in this way. Anyone having any doubts, then you guys can please post your query. Mr. Amit Kumar, I hope your query is resolved. Yes, Darshan, Dikshita, any doubts? Anyone having any doubts? Waiting for your queries, guys. I'll be covering this part separately. Bhumika, yes, Darshan, Arunima, any doubts? Dikshita, Ashwini, Nehal, Sushil. Now, let's take a situation. Let's take a situation wherein no information is given in the question as regards hours. However, information is given as regards days. Let's take a situation wherein no information is given in the question as regards hours. However, information is given in the question as regards days. So herein, if no information is given as regards hours, then there will be no change in cost variance. Again, cost variance will be same. Expenditure variance, again, no change. Volume variance, also no change. When talking about calendar variance, again, no change. We were supposed to work for 25 days. We actually worked for 26 days. 1 day extra we worked into the rate per day, that is 1800 per day. So this will be 1800 favorable. Again, since no information is given in the question as regards hours, so we will not be calculating capacity variance because since the information is missing. But yes, we'll be calculating efficiency variance. Now herein hours are not given. So we will calculate the efficiency variance using days. That is 25 days, 30,000 units. 25 days, 30,000 units. Therefore, in 26 days, how many units? 31,200 units. So 25 days, we should have manufactured 30,000 units. So 26 days में proportionately कितने unit manufacture होने चाहिए? 30,000 units in 25 days. So in 26 days, we should have manufactured 31,200 units. However, we actually manufactured 32,500 units. That is, we worked efficiently. हम लोगों को 26 days में 31,200 units ही manufacture करने थे. But in these 26 days, we manufactured 32,500 units. That is 1,300 units extra we manufactured into the rate per unit, that is 1.5. So this will be 1950 favorable. I request you guys to please copy the explanation. So now, one second, guys. So this is the last lecture for standard costing, Arunima. Sorry, Rushita. Okay, Arunima, when talking about why I have taken the rate, why not taken the rate, you can calculate it alternatively also. However, I have calculated the number of units. That is 25 days, 30,000 units. It means 26 days, 31,200 units. So actually we manufactured 32,500 units. That is 1,300 units extra we manufactured. So we have calculated the units. So that's why we will be taking the rate per unit. If we have calculated the days, we would have taken the rate per day. If we have calculated using hours, we would have used the rate per hour. So this is how it works. One more point, guys. Fixed overhead. As discussed also, writing it for your reference. Calendar variance plus capacity variance plus efficiency variance will be what? Volume variance. And expenditure variance plus volume variance plus volume will be my cost variance. So capacity variance plus efficiency variance plus calendar variance will be my volume variance, and volume plus expenditure will be my cost variance. So this is all what about fixed overheads. If you guys have any doubts in this part, I'm done with the explanation. I'll be giving you a question to solve. So if you guys have any doubts in fixed overhead variance, then you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. So this is the question for you guys. This is the question for you wherein days are given, that is 25 and 24. Hours are given 50,000, 54,000. Units are given, that is 1,99,000. And fixed overheads are given, that is 1,50,000 and 1,61,000. I request you guys to please calculate all the cost fixed overhead variances. So waiting for your answers, guys. I request you guys to please post the answer, that is fixed overhead cost variance, expenditure variance, volume variance, calendar capacity and efficiency variance. So I request you guys to please post the answers. Yes, Bhumika. So waiting for your answers, guys. So budget and actual days are 25 and 24, hours are 50,000 and 54,000. Units are 1,99,000 and fixed overheads are 1,50,000 and 1,61,000. Waiting for your answers, guys. So when talking about fixed overhead cost variance, 1,50,000 fixed overheads for 1 lakh units. Therefore, for 99,000 units, how much? So this will be 12,500 adverse. So I've got answer from Arunima. Very good, Arunima. Arunima has posted all the answer. Okay, Rushita. Very good. Rushita again has posted all the answers. Ashwini and Diksha. So let me check. Very good, everyone. And I think answers are matching. Arunima, Rushita, and Diksha. Ashwini, please check your answer. The cost variance is incorrect. You have calculated the absorbed overheads, but yes, actual overheads you have not deducted. Yes, Bhumika, Sushil, waiting for your answers, guys. This will be 11,000 adverse. 25, 24 is the number of days. Okay, so I've got answer from Miss Noor Zamila and Diksha Agrawal. So very good. I think your answers are correct. Next is fixed overhead volume variance. When talking about volume, it talks about units. So this is 1 lakh units we were supposed to manufacture. but we manufactured only 99,000 units. That is 1,000 units less than what we expected into the rate per unit, that is 1.5. So this will be 1,500 adverse. So Arunima, all three answers are correct. Rushita, all the three answers are correct. Okay. So Ashwini, Diksha Agarwal, all your three answers are correct. Sushil Kumar Barik, very good. I think till now every, answers are correct. Miss Siddhi Bhosle, let me check Siddhi. Volume, it's 1,500 adverse. Siddhi, please check the calculation. When talking about volume variance, Siddhi, do listen to me. When talking about volume variance, it talks about units. So 1 lakh units is my budgeted units and actual units are 99,000. It means 1,000 units less than what we predicted. So that's why it will be adverse. And since it is the units, so we'll be using the rate per unit. So that's why 1,50,000 divided by 1 lakh. So this will be 1.5 per unit. Now, when talking about calendar variance, we were supposed to work for 25 days, but we worked only for 24 days. That is 1 day less we worked. So this will be adverse. When talking about the rate, this will be 6,000 and 6,000 adverse. When talking about capacity variance, we have the capacity to work for 48,000 hours in 24 days. We have the capacity to work for 48,000 hours in 24 days, but we actually worked for 54,000 hours. That is how many hours extra? 6,000 hours extra into, we'll apply the rate per hour. So 1,50,000 divided by 50, that is 3. So this will be 18,000 favorable. Okay, how come rate per hour 1.5? So the rate per hour is 3. How come 3 per hour? Since first and the foremost thing, we'll be applying the rate per hour. Why? Because we have calculated hours. Now, how come 3 per hour? 1,50,000 divided by 50,000 hours. 1,50,000 rupees divided by 50,000 hours. How come 1.5 per unit? 1,50,000 over it's divided by 1 lakh units. So this is how I got 1.5 per unit. Herein we have calculated the units. So we will be using the rate per unit. If we are calculating the days, we'll be using the rate per day. If we are calculating hours, we will be using the rate per hour. Okay, Bhumika, let me check. So this will be 18,000 favorable. Now last part, efficiency variance. So Arunima, do listen to this explanation carefully. You are finding difficulty in efficiency variance. So 50,000 hours, 1 lakh unit. Or we can say 1 lakh unit, 50,000 hours. It means 1 unit should take half an hour. So the actual production was 99,000 units. So these 99,000 units should take max to max how many hours? 49,500 hours. It means the work was supposed to be completed in 49,500 hours only. But we actually took how many hours? 54,000 hours. That is 4,500 hours extra into the rate per hour, that is 1,50,000 divided by 50, that is 3 per hour. So this will be 18,000 adverse. Very good, Sushil. One second, guys, there is some mistake. 1 second. $13,500 adverse. Sorry. Very good, Krishna. Yes, Dikshita, a small calculation mistake. Tanishka, thank you so much. Rishita, sorry, it was a calculation mistake. So it's 13,500 adverse. So I hope you guys are thorough with the concepts of fixed overhead variance. If you guys have any doubts now in fixed overhead variances, you guys can please post your query. Waiting for your queries, guys. Rest, I think most of the students were able to answer it correctly. So very good. I have got answer from Komal also. Dikshita, you have not posted your answers. Dikshita, you have not posted your answer. Now, guys, this calendar variance plus capacity variance plus efficiency variance will be volume variance. Calendar plus capacity plus efficiency will be volume. Volume plus expenditure will be cost variance. Okay, Bhumika, the efficiency variance is 13,500 adverse. So 1 lakh units, 50,000 hours. 1 lakh units, 50,000 hours. It means 50,000 hours. We have to calculate it in hours. So 50,000 hours, 1 lakh units. So for 99,000 units, how many hours? The work was supposed to be completed in 49,500 hours. But we took actually 54,000 hours. That is 4,500 hours extra is our inefficiency into the rate per hour. Very good, Bhumika. Yes, your answers were correct. Vaishali Bindal, sir, calendar variance. So we were supposed to report to work for 25 days. But we reported only for 24 days. That is 1 day less than what we expected. So that's why this variance will be adverse. So guys, let's take a break of 15 minutes. I request you guys to revise what I have discussed till now. I'll be putting 1 or 2 more questions, but I'll be completing first the variable overhead variance. Thereafter, I'll be discussing 1 or 2 more questions. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. We'll be back after 15 minutes. एडमिन सर ब्रेक डाल दीजिए। Welcome back, my friends. I'll be giving one more question, Sushil, don't worry, a bit on the trickier side. Let me finish first the variable overhead variance, then I'll be putting up a question again for fixed overhead variance. So let's start with the next part and the last part of the chapter, that is variable overhead variance. Now, when talking about the variable overhead variance, again, the first step is to arrange the question in the same format what we have discussed, that is budget and actual. Now, herein, when talking about variable overheads, three information is relevant: units, hours, and variable overhead. Even if information is given as regards days, then you have to ignore this. I repeat again, if any information is given as regards days, that is budgeted days, actual days, that is of no use in calculating variable overhead variances. So now, let's say information is given in the question, the same question, wherein 30,000 units and the actual is 32,500 units. The budgeted hours are, let's say, 30,000 and this is 33,000 hours. Further, when talking about variable overheads, let's say the variable overheads are 60,000 and 70,000. Now let's start with the calculation of variable overhead variance. Again, this concept is very easy. So let's start with variable overhead cost variance. Again, the same concept, 60,000 overheads for 30,000 units. So for 32,500 units, how much? 65,000. And the actual overheads were 70,000. So this is 5,000 adverse. I repeat again, when talking about variable overhead cost variance, 60,000 overheads for 30,000 units. So for 32,500, how much? 65,000. And the actual overheads are 70,000. So this will be 5,000 adverse. Now, the same thing, variable overhead expenditure variance. Now, in fixed overhead, we discussed fixed overhead expenditure variance. We calculated fixed overhead variances directly. Sorry, we calculated fixed overhead expenditure variance directly because fixed overhead remain constant at all the level of production. But yes, when talking about variable overhead, it keeps on changing. So, when talking about variable overhead expenditure variance, we'll be considering the hours, that is change as per hours. So 60,000 overheads for 30,000 hours. So for 33,000 hours, how much? 66,000. And the actual overheads were 70,000. So this will be 4,000 adverse. Again, fixed overhead expenditure variance हमने straightforward निकाल लिया था. The reason is that fixed overhead remain constant at all the level of production or sales. However, when talking about variable overhead, it keeps on changing. जितने ज्यादा घंटे काम करेंगे उतना ज्यादा variable overheads cost incur होगा. So herein, when talking about variable overhead expenditure variance, we will revise the variable overheads. That is 60,000 खर्च हुआ 30,000 hours में. So in 33,000 hours, how much should be my variable overhead? 66,000. And my actual variable overhead is how much? 70,000. So this is 4,000 adverse. When talking about variable overhead, again the concept is similar to fixed overhead. See, this part is same, this part is same. The expenditure variance is different from fixed overhead because variable overheads keeps on changing. That's why expenditure variance will be calculated here using hours. Now, when talking about efficiency variance, the concept is same, 30,000 units. 30,000 hours. So 30 to 500 units. How many hours? 30 to 500 hours. But the work was completed in how many hours? 33,000 hours. So how many hours extra we took? 500 hours. Into the rate per hour, that is 2. So this is 1,000 advance. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Variable overhead is all over. It's done. Ashwini, yes, I'm getting your questions and answer. You have posted all the answer, Ashwini. I'm getting your answers and comments also. So herein, again, no change in this concept. No change in this concept. But yes, when talking about expenditure variance, we have to revise the variable overhead. Fixed overhead may no need to revise because it remains constant at all the level of production. So no need to revise. But yes, we have to revise the variable overhead to calculate the expenditure variance. Further, the same concept wherein expenditure plus efficiency will be the cost variance. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Further, I request you guys to please copy the solution. Efficiency वाला एक बार और बता दीजिए सर. So Krishna, again for efficiency variance, the same concept. 30,000 units, 30,000 hours. So 30 to 500 units should be manufactured in 30 to 500 hours. However, we actually took 33,000 hours. That is 500 hours extra we took. So that is adverse. This shows inefficiency into the rate per hour. Anyone having any doubts? Bhumika, Sushil, Siddhi, Vishali, Krishna, Tanishka, any doubts? Komal, Bhumika, Ashwini, any doubts? Vishali, any doubts? Waiting for your queries, guys. So Komal, when talking about efficiency, 30,000. See, efficiency मतलब कि आपने कितना प्रोडक्टिवली काम किया. दैट इज टोटल जो यूनिट्स है कितने आवर्स में मैन्युफैक्चर होने चाहिए थे और कितने आवर्स में मैन्युफैक्चर हुए. So Herein 30,000 units should be manufactured using 30,000 hours. So management has set the target that 1 unit should take 1 hour. So 30 to 500 units should be manufactured in 30 to 500 hours. But वही काम complete करने के लिए हमने 33,000 hours लगा लिए. It means what 500 hours हमारी unproductivity थी या inefficiency थी. That's why 500 hours into the rate that is 2 per hour. So this is how we got this efficiency variance, that is adverse. Expenditure variance, yes, it talks about we have to revise the variable overhead. So 60,000 overheads for 30,000 hours. So for 33,000 hours, how much should be my overhead? 66,000 should be my overhead. And the actual overheads were 70. So this is how I got 4,000 adverse. Arunima, it is fixed plus variable, my dear. Yes, Arunima. So now a question for you on fixed overhead variance. One more question, guys. So this is the question for you guys. Wherein the budgeted days are 25, budgeted man hours per day 5,000, budgeted production is 0.8 unit per man hour, budgeted absorption rate is ₹4, budgeted overhead absorption rate is ₹4 per hour, actual days are 27, actual man hours per day is 4,800, actual production is 0.85 units per man hour, and actual overheads. Sorry. So you have to calculate all the overhead variances, that is fixed overhead variances. So I request you guys to please solve this question, waiting for your answers, guys. I repeat again, budgeted days are 25, budgeted man hours per day is 5,000, budgeted production is 0.8 units per man hour, budgeted fixed overheads absorption rate is ₹4 per hour, actual days are 27, actual man hours per day is 4,800, actual production is 0.85 unit per man hour, actual fixed overheads are 5,60,000. So waiting for your answers, guys. Anyone calculated the budgeted hours and budgeted units? Then do post your answers. The first point is that you need to calculate budgeted hours and budgeted units. When talking about the budgeted days, it is 25 and 26. This information is given straight away. Sorry, 25 and 27. Further, the actual fixed overheads are given, that is 5,60,000. Rest all you need to calculate these figures. So anyone calculated this part, then you guys can please post your answers. Waiting for your answers, guys. Very good, Arunima. Your answers are correct. Vishali, perfect, correct answer. Okay, Mr. Rama S. Very good, correct answer. Diksha Agarwal, your answers are correct. Very good. So this is the first step, guys. Everyone answer is correct. Arunima, Vishali, Diksha, very good. Rama, very good. Very good. Again, this is correct answer, Rama. Bhumika, incorrect answer, my dear. Yes, Vishali, your answers are correct. Rushita, waiting for your answer, my dear. Komal, Ashwini, Sushil. I need to check, Mr. Rama S. Dikshita and Diksha Agarwal, waiting for your answers. Krishna, Tanishka, Siddhi, Noor Jamila. Stick to the concept, Bhumika. The question is very easy. When talking about the number of hours, see, it is 25 days and the budgeted man hours per day is 5,000. So every day 5,000 hours. So for 25 days, how many hours? 1,25,000 hours. Further, the budgeted production is 0.8 unit per hour. It means 1,25,000 into 0.8, that is 1 lakh. Further, the budgeted fixed overhead absorption rate is ₹4 per hour, not per unit. It is per hour. So 1,25,000 into 4. So this will be 5 lakh. When talking about the actual hours, very good, Vishali. Let me check. Very good, Diksha. Very good, Sushil. When talking about the actual hours, it is 27 days and 44,800 per day. So this will be 129,600. Further, when talking about the actual production, it is 0.85 unit per hour. So into 0.85, this will be 110,160. So now this master chart is ready. You can easily solve the question. Mr. Rama S, please check your solution. The correct answer is 110,160. Now I request you guys to please post the answers of the variances. Very good, Bhumika. Now the answer is correct. Now your answer is correct. Yes, budgeted fixed overhead is 5 lakh. How come 5 lakh? See, the budgeted fixed overhead absorption rate is rupees 4 per hour. And the total hours are 1,25,000. So this will be 1,25,000 into 4. So now I've got answer from Arunima, fixed overhead cost variance. She has already calculated expenditure variance and volume variance. Okay, so Arunima, all the three answers are correct. Rama S, volume variance, it is 50,800. Please do check your answer. Okay, so Diksha Agarwal, very good. I think all the three answers are correct. You have posted the other answers. So let me check, my dear. Arunima, again, I've got answers from your end. So yes, Tushil, waiting for your answer. Komal, Mr. Rama S, Dikshita, Vishali, Rushita, waiting for your answer, my dear. Siddhi, Tanishka, okay, I've got answers from Komal also. Cost, expenditure, and volume. All the three answers are correct. Bhumika, yes, your answers are correct. Diksha, yes, your answers are correct. Very good, Arunima, your answers are correct. We're talking about efficiency variance. 1 lakh units, 1,25,000 hours. So for 1,1,0,160 units, what was the actually? I request you guys to please check your answers. Okay, sir. In calendar variance, how did you got 20,000? So this 20,000 is per day rate. 5 lakh are the total overheads divided by 25 days. So we'll be getting the rate 20,000 per day. Very good, Rushita. Your answers are correct. Very good. Very good. But yes, Bhumika, don't forget to mention whether it is adverse or favorable, else no marks. Again, guys, you have to mention that whether the variance is adverse or favorable. Do make a note of it. If you will not, if you forget to mention adverse or favorable, then you will get no marks for all the calculation. At the end of the day, you have to mention it clearly that whether the variance is adverse or favorable. Very good, Sushil. Your answers are correct. So, guys, enough of a discussion on this chapter. No worries, Arunima. That's okay. I understand. So, guys, enough of discussion on this chapter. I wish I could discuss few more questions. That is missing figure question. But again, guys, try to solve all the questions. I assure you, if you are thorough with the concepts and if you practice basic question, then no question, I mean, ऐसा कोई भी question नहीं है जो आप attempt नहीं कर सकते. The point is, first and the foremost thing, you have to be thorough with concept. So to memorize the concept or for better understanding of concept, solve few questions, solve few basic questions. Once you are done with the basic questions, that is, I mean, you are able to memorize the concept, you are able to apply the concept, then try to solve few advanced questions, that is questions relating to missing figures. I assure you, you will be able to solve any question. But the point is, again, try solving question using concepts rather than formulas. No need to apply formula. With the help of formulas, you can solve basic question. But yes, advanced question, you need to be thorough with the concepts. So the chapter is over. I wish, Kavita, you have not posted even single answer also. I mean, I do expect answers from you, but you are not posting any answers throughout the session. You are not there, I think. So anyways, Kavita, be ready with the next session. Do come on time and do post all the answers. It will help you to boost up your confidence. So guys, enough of discussion on this chapter. Again, try to solve all the questions of study material, past practice manual, RTPs, MTPs. I trust me, guys, if you try to memorize the concept, then you will be able to solve all the questions. So this chapter is very important from examination point of view. Again, there is no alternative hard work, no need to do ticking that this I have calculated tick, this I have calculated tick. See, guys, you are still pursuing for CA. You have not cleared CA. So no need to do any sort of vouching or verification. These study materials are correct, so no need to check the answer. Better prepare your answer and then do verify it with the study material. So thank you so much for your time and patience. God bless you. In the next session, we'll be starting with marginal costing. I think it is on Saturday. So Thursday, it's a holiday. I think it's Bakar Eid. So happy Bakar Eid in advance. Thank you so much, guys. Sir, session concluded. That's okay. Make sure you are present right on time in the next session and do post all your answers. And whatever the queries you have, you can please. No worries, Kavita. So, sir, I'm done with the session.